Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Motivational Muslim with myself, Shabbir Hassan. So the one thing that I wanted to speak about today, something that's been on my mind for some time now, is the fact that each and every single one of us, we go through our own set of challenges, of problems, personal trials and tribulations, right? All of us go through some sort of difficulty at some point in our lives, and we continue to do so. This is the nature of life, right? The whole reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and created life and death, as He says in Surah Al-Mulk, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So He could see and He could trial and test you to see which one of you comes out on top, right? Which one at the end of the day, right, will go through that difficulty, but will still, come out on top in terms of their deeds and will perform the best in terms of their actions. So, it doesn't matter what kind of Muslim you think you are. It doesn't matter, whether you're even a Muslim or not. As long as you're a human being, as long as you're insan, then you have to realize that we're going to be tested. That's just the nature of life. We're going to go through some difficulty. So once you realize that it's not just you that's being tested, it's not just you that's going through a trial, and I'm not playing it down and I'm not taking anything away from you. I'm sure you're going through difficulty. I am as well. We all do. We all face our own challenges. But once we realize that the reality is that everyone faces trials and everyone is tested, then what we need to really worry about, if we're going to be concerned with anything, is how do we come out on top? And how do we grow through our pain and grow through these challenges? And when I really think about this, the one individual that comes to mind and really inspires me is Musa alayhi salam. Because subhanAllah, his story is mentioned the most in the Qur'an. And, sporadically in different places in the Qur'an. And he was tested to an unbelievable level. It's amazing, when you study. But if you also look at Musa alayhi salam, the individual that he was, the amazing individual that he was, and what he achieved, you could just see him growing and becoming stronger and stronger the more he was being tested, right? I mean, from the moment he was born, just that in itself was a test for him and for his mother and for his family, right? Because, he was going to be slaughtered by Fir'aun. So from the moment he was born to the moment that his mum had to place him into a basket, place him place him into the river. After that, she had no idea where he was going to end up. The fact that he ended up in the palace of Fir'aun, the fact that he grew up there, and all those trials, like how he killed someone by mistake, right? All of these things, subhanallah, from birth he went through, right? But he continued. And that incident where he, by mistake he killed someone, and then he became a fugitive, so he had to leave the land of Egypt, right? And he had to travel, right? That whole journey, subhanAllah, if you look at it, the fact that, from the palace of the most powerful man in Egypt, now he's on the run and he's a fugitive and he becomes homeless. And, scholars like Ibn Abbas, they mention that, he had to eat leaves from trees because he was starving and he had no companionship, he had no family. He was going through such a difficult time, but he didn't let that get to him, and he didn't stop and say, why am I going through this for? I don't deserve this. Why couldn't it be someone else? No, rather he embraced it because he realized that, no, this is a challenge and I have to face this, and inshaAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help me, right? But he did what he could as well. He traveled. He didn't just stop there and just lie down and forget about life. What he did was he traveled. Even though he traveled a long distance, he went from Egypt all the way to the Arabian lands of Madian. And when he ended up there, he went and he did what he could. Immediately he saw two women there, he helped them as much as he could. Then he made a dua and he said, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir, that, oh my Lord, I am in need, I'm in dire need of any goodness that you can send. All right, we know this story. Okay, it's related in Surah Al-Qasas, for example. Now, after that, his life had turned around. But what we have to realize is his life wouldn't have turned around had he not gone through that whole process. So what happened immediately after that? One of the daughters of Shu'aib came, took him to her father, and then he was offered a job, he was offered shelter, he was offered protection, he was offered her in marriage. Right, so now he's married, now he's got a job, now he's got wealth, now he's got food, now he's got protection, now he's got shelter. All of these things that he didn't have. But remember, had he not gone through that process, and had he not been trialed, and had he not been challenged, he wouldn't have grown. and he wouldn't have realized. And that's what made him the individual that he was, right? And so many other instances and stories I can give you from the time Musa alayhi salam. Like the fact that like Khidr, why did he meet Khidr? And that whole story in Surah Al-Kahf. It's because, he made a mistake. And what happened was, he stood up in front of Bani Israel, who, by the way, were his whole life, they gave him difficulties and they tested him, right? That in itself was a test. So he stood up one day, someone asked him, who's the most knowledgeable person? And he said, I am, rather than attributing that knowledge to Allah, rather than saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most knowledgeable. So in order to teach him a lesson, right, look at this, in order to teach Musa alayhi salam a lesson, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, no, there's someone who's more knowledgeable than you, go and find him, at the point where the two seas meet. So he embraced it, and he went through a difficulty again. Why? Because he had to travel a long distance, right? And he even said, لَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِن سَفَرِنَا هَذَا نَصَبًا. Like, we've really been exhausted and fatigued through this journey, right? So he had to put that effort in. He had to go through that journey. He had to become tired and fatigued. But he would never have met Khidr, and he never would have learned those life lessons from him, from his mentor, had he not made that mistake and had he not gone through that struggle. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to realize that, and I know it's easier said than done as well, okay? But we need to realize that we're all going to go through problems, we're all going to be tried and tested, but we need to grow through it. We can't give up. We can't. We have to have our hopes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to do whatever we can. Just like Musa alayhi salam did. He did whatever he could. He had to move from Egypt to Madian. He had to go through that journey. He had to struggle, right? Just like, he had to travel to meet Khidr. And so many other instances from not just him, but other prophets and other amazing individuals. So we also have to do whatever we can. We also have to put our hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to grow through that pain. We have to come out on top. Okay, because we will be tested, but the main thing is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see, are we going to be persevering? Are we going to be steadfast? Are we going to be patient? Are we going to be grateful? Are we going to remember all the things that Allah has given us? If we can do that, then I promise you, we will grow through that pain, we will grow through the challenges, and inshaAllah, that will shape and mold us to become the individuals that we are destined to become, inshaAllah. So hopefully we can take that life lesson from someone like Musa alayhi salam. And inshaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, firstly, the dua that we should make is may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate all of our pains and make it easy for us. But should we be tested, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to come out on top and allow us to come out stronger. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. And thank you so much for watching again. Inshallah, I will be back very, very soon. And take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.